Are we as Africans victims? And if you're victims, what are we actually a victim of? Is he a victim of systematic discrimination, bad government, bad leaders, or bad people? See, anytime I make videos like this, I see some type of comment where people will comment things like, you need to learn more about your history. You need to know that everything that Africa go through right now is not just on Africa. It is because there are some external influences that have determined to keep us this way. And as much as when I started making this video, I've connected with a lot of like-minded people and I get a lot of great comments from different countries, from different people, and I appreciate them so much. I still need to make this type of videos because I know that a lot of people in real life have this kind of thought process because I see the things I see online and I know how people might actually feel on some certain things. Recently, I started coming across some videos where people will say, if you search on TikTok for Africa, there are some things that you see on TikTok about Africa that doesn't represent Africa. It doesn't look glamorous. It feels very, very, very bad. It feels like an emulation. And then that just gives me that thought, something I've always had in my mind. What are we as Africans? What are we a victim of? And this is a question I've been asking myself a long time ago, because at a point I started believing that maybe there's something wrong in our blood, in our genes that has kept us this way. Till I realized, I think I mentioned in my other video, it was never about the genes. It was the mindset. Before we became a victim of any other thing, we were a victim of ourselves first. We were a victim of ourselves, our mentality towards things. You know, before the European influences, before the American influences, Africa was so blessed. We had water, we had land to grow our foods. We have almost everything. It was just about us maintaining it. So our brain did not go to work early. Till the Europeans came and saw potentials and started taking over these things and started using it in a brutal way for themselves and to benefit us a little bit. But what I've always kept in my mind is that if we are so great as history has shown it, as most people will say, read history. Africa is the first place to build a school. Africa is the first place to write words. Africa is the first thing to. We are always the first thing to. But now, with what we are seeing in our current situation, we can see that we had made little to no progress all over the years. And that is because we have this victim mindset. This is not 1920 anymore. This is not 1930 anymore. This is not 1940 anymore. This is 2025. And see, I am not trying to sound insensitive here. Yes, Africans, we went through a lot. Our ancestors went through a lot. But me personally, I did not have to go through it. And I feel like one of the best way to bless the memories of my ancestors, one of the best way to actually make all of their sufferings worth it, is by living in an Africa, is by living in a future that they could have never imagined that we'll get to. But look at us today. It's almost like we are stagnant. And like I said, this is why I make this type of videos. I think I mentioned it in my other video as well. I said, this is not me trying to be a leader of any movement. This is me trying to share an ideology. Because I know for Africa to be safe, we do not need a savior. We need an idea. We need a lot of people to share an ideology. We are not victims anymore. It is time for us to take charge and take control of where Africa heads from here on. See, I'll see some videos making some people talking about, oh, do you know the reason why a black man or an African wear big chains and dress luxurious, buy luxurious cars, was that they never used to take us serious till you show that you actually have wealth. And the only way to show wealth is by material things. It is no longer that era. I'm sorry, like I said, I don't even want to sound insensitive. There are some words that I don't find offensive anymore. And this is not just something that I started learning today. I think I got into one argument years ago with one white boy on Facebook. And he was calling me a nigger or some swear words. I literally went online and I researched about it and I'm like, what offensive word can I call this person as a white person? And they gave me some words. I sent it back to him, cracker, something like that. Because to me, they are just words. They have no power over me. See, there are some things in life that you have to do as a person if you want to grow. And the first thing is to take power from your oppressor by making everything that they do to you that is supposed to make you feel pain, by being numb to it and growing as a person or as a group of people. For example, a student that his teacher said, "You are never going to make it. You are never going to amount to nothing." And because of that, the student started reading. He started studying hard for his examinations. He went to university, graduated, master's, PhD, became a successful medical doctor, a lawyer. And he looked at that statement then, or let's say he came across the teacher, successful, riding a car in his house. And he looked at the teacher and he said, "Now I'm successful." Let's look at it. Did he become successful because the teacher said he wasn't going to be successful, or he became successful because of himself? Because on the long run, you're going to be the first person to enjoy your success before anybody else. And that's why I've always said, my success is never going to be a revenge for anything. It's always going to be about me. Now, let's reverse the scenario. A student that the teacher said is not going to amount to nothing. Then he took that as an anger. Right? He joined a bad group and took guns to that teacher's house. Shot the teacher, killed the teacher, because the teacher said, "You are not going to amount to nothing." And it felt so good. You hurt me with your words, so I'm going to hurt you back. Truly, he hurt back the teacher. But as he becomes successful himself, he has only shown anger. We cannot be like that. And I feel like this is where almost every movement has failed in. I'm not going to mention any other topic because I don't want to digress. See, when you're trying to fight for a movement, you have to think about it. What is this movement about? What am I actually fighting for? Is it for the good of my people, or is it for people that has hurt me to feel pain like I have feel pain? One is positive, one is negative. You can do both together at the same time. But mostly, I see that people go for that negative route. They want people to feel their pain. You hurt me, I'm going to hurt you back. It's never about freeing themselves or other people that are going to be in their situation. And that is what we have always been a victim of. See, I am sure during slavery, Africans sold Africans to slavery. With what I've seen, I feel like we need to start as youth, as young people, or even old people. We need to start using our common sense. We need to start thinking about these things by ourselves. There is no book in this world, there is no video in this world that you watch that will teach you what you need to know about your roots than yourself, than what you can see with your eyes. There is one adage or a proverb or a word that I detest so much now in my life, is that if you want to hide something from a black man, hide it inside a book. Like it is not another human that wrote that book. There is nothing special that I want to read in your book that I cannot use my just simple logic. Yes, you can learn some things, you can learn more things by reading, but it is not special than watching a video, listening to music, or listening to somebody say it. It's still the same thing. I believe in the power of our mind a lot. Somebody shared me a video about how they used to draw Africans in cartoons in that old era, 1930. It was very discriminating. And this person said, "Wow, they are so racist and something." I'm like, see, looking back at those cartoons now, they can be exaggerated, right? And I'm not justifying anything. See, I've always said it. Anytime I want to talk about things like this, I am not going to be talking about my oppressors. That is where I'm going to take the power away from them. This is not about them. This is not about who is more at fault. This is not about who is to be blamed. This is about freeing our mind for our growth. And like I said, it has always going to be about the idea first, before you even table solutions. It's not about tabling solutions. It's not about saying this is the solution. Sometimes I think about it like, what are the solutions to our problems? But the first problem, which is the main problem, is our mindset. And that is why I am always trying to make this type of videos, to make our mindset ready for the change or the solutions that other people can prefer. About the animation, I said, look back at it. I'm not sure this is too different from how they could have seen us then. And if it's any different, it's now on us to show how we want ourselves to be represented. It is no longer 1930. We have artists, Nigerian artists that can draw. If you look at all those videos on TikTok, it is made by Africans. And they did it because they don't have dignity. They did it because they wanted to make money from those platforms. So they don't care about how they represent us. They walk like gorillas. They eat bananas. They act like monkeys for views and money. That is not on any platform. That is on us. And like I said, this is not about the blame game. I know that a lot of our problems, a lot of things that we face till date, has a lot of external influences. But that is not how you start. You have to solve the internal ones before you start facing the external ones. Because if you face the external ones without resolving internal influences, you're going to fail. And that is why we have been failing all over the years. So don't come to my comment section or tell me that I need to learn more about history. Or I'm just too young to understand how things are. I think I know everything I'm supposed to know about this certain issue. I don't know everything. But this particular one, I made a lot of research. And it's not today. So no, we are a victim of ourselves before we become a victim of anything else. And if any change is to happen, we have to start freeing our own mind. We have to start looking at ourselves. Why is there tribal wars? Why is there gender wars? Why is religion still this crazy that people will literally kill another person because they don't believe in their religion or because they are blasphemous? Why does this thing matter to you? And like I said, I don't want to digress, so I'm not offending other people. But I'm trying to get unity. And then when I say unity, we are different. I'm not even saying we should all, I think I mentioned in that my other video, I'm not saying we should just Pan-Africanism. No. I'm just saying our thought and ideology at least should be unique and simple towards the greatness of Africa. Good roads, food, our resources working for us. And that's why anytime I see some videos online that, a boy built a stadium out of a cardboard. No, that is not what we need. That is not our success. We are not babies. We are not to be adored. We are meant to be performing. Let's look at the real problems and start solving them. And to do that, we have to solve our own internal influence, internal problems. I have to see another person, another African person, and before I see them, I don't see them as my enemy. I treat them based on who they are. If you're a good person, yes, you're a good person. I'll treat you good. If you're a bad person, then you treat the person bad. Not because they are from another part. That is the most important thing to us. Because look at us. We act also unruly. People always say these things. I think I made a video about that on my TikTok. They say like, the government is not only the problem in Africa, in Nigeria. Even the people are the problem. See, that is not a way to solve problems. The government, they are our problem. And then they are the representation of everything that is wrong with us. Why is it that when Nigerians or Africans travel to European countries or American countries, we behave ourselves? To get a driver's license, you know that you cannot bribe your way. You have to actually know how to drive. You have to know the laws and the rules. And there's no shortcut. You're not bribing anybody. And even if you get the license and you misbehave, it's going to be retracted from you, and you might never be able to drive again in that particular country or in that continent. So when there are strict consequences, people follow the rules, and it is the rules, and it is the work of the leaders. But because the reason why they wanted to become leaders so badly is not because of us. They wanted to become leaders because of their own personal ego, and we allow that because of the differences within ourselves. We cannot come together and look at it and be like, this is the person that is better to us, because we suffer from a lot of differences in the first place. And that is why the amalgamation has always been something that they used against us. They just put our head together because they know that as long as we don't have cooperation, there is never going to be any solution. And now this is on us now, youths. I feel like if you can understand English, this thing I'm saying is very simple. This is not fight. I am not arguing. This is not a blame game. When I was young, they used to teach me in school then that Liberia was the only country to not be colonized in Africa. And I was so proud of it. Till I made my research and realized that Liberia never needed to be colonized. It was created by America to have a sort of control over Africa, even when slavery ended. So they sent some freed slave to a particular place and call it Liberia. I'm guessing it came from a name, Liberty area. I'm not sure how factual that is, but from the name Liberia. And if you look at the capital, Mongolia or something, it is named after the president of the US that time. That is the truth. That is the history. It is not something to brag about. We brag about everything. We have this complex ego. They treat us like babies. They can tell you now, the richest something is this thing. No. If it is not showing, if it is not benefiting you or benefiting your group of people, it is not something to celebrate. They say, Dangote is the richest man in it. How does it affect me? It is not my money. I don't care. But if Nigeria has the best schools in Africa, if Nigeria has the best school in the world, if Ghana has the best resort center in the world, if Kenya has the best stadium in the world, if South Africa has the best and we have cooperation with it, now that is my benefit. But how are we going to benefit from it, even if we don't see ourselves that we suffer from the same problem? Man, I could go on and on this particular topic. I was even about to go get food before this came to my head, and I just had to spit it out like this. I don't know, maybe I'm going to be posting it, but yeah, this is how I feel, and I feel like if you actually pay attention, you can feel it as well. And that will be the end of this video. Hopefully, like I said, this makes sense to somebody. Share the message. Think about it. Listen, not from a place of anger, but from a place of growth. And yeah, with that, I'll be seeing you guys in another video. Cheers.